Okay, so give me some time. I'll start it quickly now. So this is a biology class. So I am doing this chapter, Living World. Okay. So let us just start with the chapter, and then we'll just try to do things. Okay. So while we are like kind of classifying organisms, so say for example, we have to do some classification of an organism. We need to understand that all organisms are like kind of what there are many organisms which are living there in the world. If we need to identify an organism, we need to have some criteria. Okay, so what is that criteria that we have is what we call it as taxonomic categories. Okay, what are these taxonomic categories? There are 7 categories which are very important. We call them as obligatory categories. What is the meaning of obligatory categories? Must, or it is like kind of you should have some conditions. Conditional. If you're going to say, I mean, like I'm going to tell you what the 7 obligatory categories are. The 7 obligatory categories are, from the lowest rung, you have something called a species. When species is going further, you have genus. When genus is further taken above, you have family. If family is taken above, you will have something called as order. And if order is there above, you have something called as class. When class is like further moving above, you have something called as phylum. And phylum, above that you have kingdom. So what is the species? First of all, we need to understand. So why is that we need to classify organisms? Say for example, we are living in a very diverse world. Okay. So basically you are like living in a world which is very, very diverse. There are like lots of organisms which are there living around us. So if we have to classify them, if we need to identify them, we have some kind of issues here. So I'm living in a world which is like occupied by plants, which is occupied by animals, which is occupied by microorganisms, which is occupied by fungus. Like this, you have a variety of organisms which are there. So when you have variety of organisms which are there, and you need to like identify these organisms, what we call is like we need to know, we should have some kind of basis for identifying them, and we should have some kind of like common categories which should be there between them, so that we can relate them and we can study them better. Okay, so say for example, can I club a plant with a human being? Can I say that these two are similar? Yes or no? We cannot say. Can I say that an animal and human being, can we say that we have commonality? Yes, we have some commonality. There is some property which is like kind of making us like kind of like similar. So we are trying to group them, categorize them on basis of something. Okay, so what is this particular slide? What is this particular species? The species is telling us how close are we as animals, or like let us say that if you are going to talk about people, like let me talk about two individuals. Let me talk. I am Shivraj, and there is a person who's called as Girish here, who's responding to me in some questions. So can I say that Shivraj and Girish are two people who are like kind of having some commonality? I will be able to tell that Shivraj is some person and Girish is a person. He is a man, he is a man. Can we say that we two are similar? Yes, we will be able to tell that we are similar because we have some kind of feature which is very common. What is that thing? We both have two eyes, two nose, I mean like one nose, you have a mouth, you have two hands, the body. So we look alike almost everywhere, like we are looking alike. Not that like we are identical, but on an overall way, you can say that we both are like kind of similar. So we both belong to, we have like lots of things which are common. And let me take a dog and a human. Can we say that we are similar? We cannot say in terms of like majority cases. We can tell in terms of some broad categories. Dog has four legs. Shiva is having only two legs. Okay. Can we say that it is having four legs and Shiva is having two legs? And then like all the features of dogs are different from the features of Shiva. So which means you have like distinguishing features are there more. So can I group them together in the same species? I cannot put them together in the same species. So what is the meaning of species? You have some criteria for being there in the same species. So what is the meaning of species? Species are groups that resemble closely, or like organisms that resemble closely. So you are having some kind of like very similarity. What are the similarities that species will have? The first thing is members of the same species are morphologically similar. they are anatomically similar. Then they can interbreed among themselves. These are all categories of species. These are all important points of species that you should know. They are morphologically similar, they are anatomically similar, and they can interbreed among themselves. Now we have to look into these terms. What is the meaning of morphologically similar? When I'm saying morphologically similar, it means structurally similar. I'm talking about external features. Okay, what do we mean by morphologically similar? I am talking at the external appearance. Someone is asking me what is morphologically similar. I'm just explaining externally similar. Can we talk about a dog and a cat? Are they morphologically similar? Looking at the external appearance, can you say that both are similar? No, they are not morphologically similar. So can I put them together into the same species? They are different species. They are not the same species. So you cannot club them together into the same species. And they are anatomically similar. What is the meaning of anatomically similar? So whenever I'm using the word anatomy, I'm talking about the tissue arrangement. I'm talking about the tissue arrangement. What is the meaning of tissue arrangement? How the internal tissues are organized. If you are taking about a digestive system of a human being, okay, so digestive system of a human being, you can take that it is made up of layers of tissues. Okay, so let us say that it is made up of epithelial. There is something called as mucosa. There is a layer which is called as mucosa. There is a layer which is called as submucosa. Then there is a layer which is called as muscularis. Then there is a layer which is called as serosa. So you will be studying about these things later in 11th standard. But my digestive tract has 4 layers of tissues. Another human being's digestive tract will also be made up of these 4 layers. But if you are going to compare human beings with birds or other animals, this particular cell layers may be present or may be absent. So which means my internal system anatomically should be same. Okay, so that is what is the case. So if I'm talking about species, you should say that organisms should be morphologically similar and they should also be anatomically similar. And one more important property is they should interbreed among themselves. What is the meaning of interbreeding? They should be capable of reproducing with themselves. Okay. So whenever I'm using this word interbreed, there is a condition. What is the thing that you should know whenever I'm using the word interbreed? This doesn't mean that they only breed within species. Meaning, there are some interbreeds which are possible. So you have a donkey and a horse are two different species. They can still form a new organism together by co-reproducing called as a mule and something called as a hinny. So this is quite possible. Reproductive isolation is not what we are talking about. Okay. So reproductive isolation can happen, but still when we are talking about interbreeding, a donkey and a horse, which are belonging to two different species, can form a new organism, which is called as mule or hinny. Okay. Similarly, a lion and a tiger are two different species, but still you will be able to form something called as liger or tigon. This is also quite possible. So they belong to different species, but still they are capable of reproducing together. So interbreed within the same species and within interrelated species. Can you tell me what is the difference between mule and hinny and liger and tigon, if anyone knows? I'll just wait for a couple of minutes, a minute to see the answer. If you're not telling, I'll tell you the answer. It's not a big deal. Okay. So someone has given me the answer. So let me just quickly tell. Okay, okay, fine. I have got like sufficient uh, answers. Good. I mean, okay. Okay, I'm just asking you what is the difference in terms of these things. It differs in terms of male of the species and female of the species. Okay, a liger, if I'm going to take, male is lion, female is tiger. Tigon, male is tiger and female is lion. Mule, male is donkey and female is horse. And in case of hinny, the male is horse and female is donkey. Here, someone called Shiva Prakash is asking, are they sterile or maybe they are sterile? Okay. So these are all crosses which are not happening naturally. Okay. So please understand, a lion will not mate with a tiger just like that. Similarly, a tiger will not mate with a lion just like that. Or a donkey and a horse will not mate just like that in a natural environment. But what you need to understand is these are all reproductive things which have happened in captive. What is the meaning of captive? You have captured them and you have kept them in the zoo and you have like artificially done this mating process. So in such a case, they will be there. The progeny will have both their characters. Okay. Progeny of liger and tigon are slightly different. It is like which is dominant and which is like kind of recessive. Okay, that is like kind of like a case where you will be having a very distinct cases. So what is this mule was developed for? Mule and hinny were developed by artificial methods so that you will get a better quality of load pulling ability. So we needed some kind of organism which was fast. At the same time, it was able to pull load. Donkey was able to pull load. Horse was fast. You were trying to club them together and create it. We today use more of mules than hinny. Okay. Lion and tiger are like just an experimental studies that they have done. So there are some kind of like historical evidences which has shown that liger and tigon existed long time back, not now. So looking at those kind of evidences, scientists were like kind of like trying to check out whether that was like really possible, and they were like kind of doing it. Okay. So and then like this is all like done in captive. So the main understanding what I wanted to drive here is, it is like whenever I'm using the word interbreed, you need to understand this can not necessary that it has to be within the same species. A species which are interrelated can also give birth to children. That is what is the case. So liger and tigon will have different gender based on the X and Y chromosomes. Yeah, you can have male liger, female liger. You have a male tigon, female tigon, like that you can have. Okay. Tambi Devadarshan is asking something existence of megalodon. I'm not sure about what is the thing. I am totally unaware of it. Maybe I can check and let you know later. Okay. So what you need to understand here is you need to understand that species can interbreed among themselves. So quickly let us come back to the main topic of the day. We are talking about taxonomic categories. In the taxonomic categories, we have studied that organisms which are very closely related are put together as a species. Okay, if you are going to talk about human beings are all put together in a species which is called as sapiens. The word sapiens means wise. Okay. So similarly, you were also having in olden days, there was a group of people who were called as habilis. Habilis was kind of very different. Okay. Similarly, there was a group of people who were called as erectus. Similarly, there were a group of people who were called as Neanderthals. Similarly, there was a group of people who were called as Florences. Like that, you had different human beings who were living back then. Like how now today you have cat, lion, you have a panther, you have a tiger, are all there. So they were having like all these groups were there. All these groups were similar in terms of properties, but they were having some kind of visible differences among them. So if you see, sapiens and erectus had differences. Sapiens had a brain capacity of say something like 1200 cc, when Neanderthals were having something like 1400 cc. Erectus was having something like 900 cc. Habilis was having only 650 cc. And these guys were also having something around 700. So if you are like looking at these kind of groups, you are able to see, but their spine was very erect for these people. So these people were also somewhat erect. whereas habilis was having a drooping spine. There were differences, but if you are going to consider all these groups, they were having lots of common properties. So we club them together in a particular genus, which is called as Homo. So now it is taking us to the next thing, which is genus. So what is genus? Genus is a collection of species. I will call them as a collection of species. Okay, so genus will be a collection of species, but genus will have many groups. Okay, Devadarshan is asking, were Neanderthals intelligent than sapiens? Okay, what you need to understand is the intelligence factor is not just because of brain capacity. They had larger brains than human beings. Yes, they were like having a larger brain than human beings. But when you're talking about the brain capacity, you need to understand something. If you're talking about sapiens, sapiens were having a brain capacity of 1200 cc. And these guys were having 1400 species. Maybe they were having more intelligence, but they couldn't survive in the long run. Why they were not able to survive in the long run? Because there are two systems in your body which will require maximum energy. One is your brain system will try to take lots of energy. Okay. And then you have your digestive system, which was giving you, which will take lots of energy. So brain, if a larger brain means an organism has to eat a lot, and then like it has to like kind of produce lots of energy. So while looking at the model of it, Neanderthals were not able to maintain that energy level and they become extinct. So what you need to understand in terms of like Neanderthals is like it is not that the best of the species will survive. It is the fittest of the species that will survive. Sapiens were intelligent. At the same time, they were they were able to manage the energy requirement, whereas Neanderthals were not able to do that thing. Okay, so sapiens, how did they manage? Sapiens, how did they manage? Is a question. So I'll just tell you a small history. I'm just trying to deviate from the topic that I'm teaching, but I think it will be informative for you. What happened when individuals were there? Like you need to understand the situations which were like kind of there during this particular organisms were there. So sapiens gained the mastery of fire. Okay. When sapiens were there, they were able to control fire. They got the knowledge of managing fire. When fire was there, what they happened to do was they started to cook and eat. When an organism is cooking and eating, the food digests very fast. The way in which fire was there, the domestication of fire by human beings gave two advantages. One, it was able to giving them the control over other organisms, because all the others were not able to control fire, but whereas we were able to threaten them with fire. That was one thing. And the second advantage is it was allowing them to cook. When it was allowing them to cook, what happened was the food started to digest faster. So which means their digestive system started to take less energy. Otherwise, you imagine you're like kind of chewing a particular meat. For eating that raw meat, and then like your like organisms were eating, the digestive system required lots of energy. Okay, so what happened was when the food was cooked, the digestion became easier and it became less energetic. I mean, like less energy requiring. So what happened? They were able to channelize the energy to the brain. So they were starting to think better. So that was the advantage that sapiens had. So if the sapiens were not were not able to domesticate fire, they wouldn't have survived. Neanderthals, on the contrary, what happened was Neanderthals were like organisms which were not able to control fire. So they were like having a larger brain capacity, but still there were certain advantages that sapiens had which made them their survival better. So at the end of the day, it is all about competition in an open environment. So whichever species is fit enough, they will be able to survive. So sapiens had this natural way in which they had some ability, which was like favoring sapiens, whereas habilis, erectus, Neanderthals, florensis did not have. So since they were not having the ability, they did not survive in the long run. Okay, so that is what is the case. Someone is asking me what is cc. Cc means cubic centimeter. Cubic centimeter is volume unit. Okay, so coming back to the main area, species are there. Related species are grouped together as genus. Say for example, you have Panthera leo. In species level, you have Leo tigris. Leo is lion and tigris is tiger. So these were having similar attributes, lions, but still were different from tigers. Okay, so these two were clubbed together under the genus Panthera. Similarly, you have Homo as a group in which Erectus was different, Sapiens was different. Many similar groups are further joined together to form what we call it as family. A family will have multiple genus. Family is a collection of genus. Panthers will also come under Panthera only. Okay, but Leopardus is like different. So if you're going to talk about family, a family will be having many genus together. So if you're going to talk about the family which is called as Felidae, Felidae is cat family. If you're going to talk about cat family, this was having multiple groups. One was you have Panthera. Next was it was having Leopardus. Similarly, you have Felis. The Felis is the domesticated cat variety. This will include the group of leopards. Leopards, cheetah, which are all like similar. Then this will include the lion or tiger and all. So which means you have a family is a collection of genus which are having one more level up basically. So these genuses have some commonality. So you group them together into one family. Similarly, you have a family which is called as Canidae. Canidae is a dog family. Inside this, you will have the dog, you have the wolf, you have the jackal, you have the fox. Those kind of organisms can be grouped together. So if you see a dog, wolf, jackal, fox will have more commonality. Similarly, if you are grouping them, panther, leopard, tiger, cat and all, they will be looking very different. Okay. So, hyena too. Yeah, right. So this is what we call it as Canidae, Felidae. What is family? Family is a collection of genus. Okay, many genus together. And what is the next level of organization? The next level of organization is order. The order is a collection of families. So let us say that there is an order which is called as Carnivora. Carnivora is the order where you will have a family which is called as Felidae. You will have a family which is called as Canidae. You might have other families as well. Okay. So Carnivora is becoming the order, the next level of organization. Okay. So if you're going to talk about organization, yeah, you have like Felidae and Canidae will come under an order which is called as Carnivora. So what is this you're trying to see here is you're trying to see that these groups are there put together with a commonality. Maybe there is one more group, one more order which can be called as a herbivora, which will include maybe cat, I mean like your goat, cow, and those kind of organisms, deer and all will not come under carnivora. They might be coming under herbivora. So which means what is order is the next question. Order is a collection of families. Similar families are joined together to form what we call it as order. The next level is what we call it as class. Class will include many orders. Like you have your Mammalia. Mammalia is a class. You have aves. Aves is a class. You have amphibians. Amphibians is a class. You have Pisces. Pisces means fishes. Fishes is a class. You have Reptalia. Reptalia is reptiles. Snakes and all will come under this thing. Mammals will be coming under this class. Amphibians will be coming under this class. Pisces will come, fishes will come under this class. Birds will come under this class. These are all class. Inside these class, you have order. Inside the order, you will have family. Inside the family, you will have genus. Inside the genus, you will have species. So all these things are what we call it as orders. I mean like order. I mean like classes. These are all classes which are there. These classes are joined together to form what we call it as phylum or division. So we use the word phylum for animals. And we use the word division for plants. What is phylum or division? It is a collection of classes. Many classes together joined together will form what we call it as phylum or division. The word phylum indicates race or tribe. Okay, so because of the indication of race, tribe and all, we connect it more with animals than with plants. So in plants, we use the word division. Okay, and if you're going to talk about division, phylum is there. So above phylum is what we call it as your next level, which we call it as the kingdom. Kingdom, you have animal kingdom. So now let us do an exercise. So if you want to classify human beings, okay, if you are going to classify human beings, how will we classify human beings? Let us start with the kingdom. Which kingdom do we belong to? I need you to answer. I need some people to understand. I mean, I want to check whether you have understood or not. Which kingdom do human beings belong to? Quickly answer. Yes, many of you are telling animal. So we belong to Animalia. Inside that, we have to talk about phylum. You guys have any idea what phylum do we belong to? we belong to the category of vertebrata or chordata. Chordata means the ones which will have notochord. What is notochord? Notochord is like kind of backbone. We belong to the class which is having the backbones. Okay, so please understand that we are coming under the class of chordata. The next one, what is the next one after phylum? After phylum, what is the case? Kingdom is first category. Second one is phylum. Third one is class. What class do we belong to? We belong to Mammalia. Okay. Inside this Mammalia, which class do we belong to? The next one is order. We belong to the order Primata. What is Primata? The monkey family. Okay. Primata are what we call it as primates. Okay. Then we have the family. We belong to the Hominidae. Hominidae is again the family of hominids. So inside this, the sixth one is genus. What is the genus? We belong to Homo. And the seventh one is species. We belong to Sapiens. Like this, you can classify any organism. So please understand, in this case, you have something in between. So when people were finding this thing, these seven are called as obligatory, which is must. But you can have subspecies. Okay, or you can have super species. What is the meaning of subspecies? Inside this thing, if there is a found, they are finding a category, some commonality, you can group them together with subspecies. If there are species inside the genus, you can have a subgenus again. Okay, like that, the word sub is used so that you are like they are trying to give some kind of flexibility for organization. Say for example, tomorrow they are finding some other commonality which is like there with all animals. Then you can classify them based on sub and super. Okay, so there are like some kind of a subspecies and super species and subgenus the same? No, it depends on what category we are talking about and what kind of commonality we are talking about. You cannot call them as the same thing. Okay, so just it is like basically like collection of characters. Okay, so if you have a group of things, group of characters which are similar, we categorize them. Okay, you just learn about super species. You will not learn it now because it's like hard to explain you. So I am not sure like how I'll be able to explain you also. So just give me some time. I'll try to do that. Okay. So you're asking about subspecies. So say for example, in cases of Escherichia coli, which is a bacteria, you all would have learned it as E. coli. This is Escherichia. This is a bacteria. So inside this thing, you have strains which are called as S strain, R strain. this will be classified as a subspecies. Okay, what is the meaning of it? S strain will have smooth wall and R strain will have rough wall. So in bacteria and all, it is very common. So you have different strains. So even if you are taking this COVID example, so you have a group of category of viruses which are called as the SARS viruses. Okay, SARS viruses are viruses which will cause severe acute respiratory syndromes. So inside which you have a variety which is called as coronaviruses. Coronaviruses are a group of viruses. Under that thing, what is infecting now is COVID-19. Okay, COVID-19 is affecting. So if there is a case, there is a thing that they are saying that whatever virus is affecting the foreign countries and the viruses which are affecting India is somewhat slightly different in terms of their ability to cause disease. Okay, so like that we have to understand. Someone is asking me which kingdom viruses will belong to. Viruses will not belong to any kingdom because viruses are not considered to be living organisms outside the body. Viruses are considered only to be living inside the body. Okay. And someone is asking how is hominid different from Homo sapiens? Please understand the word hominid is the word for the family. Okay. Inside this hominidae, you have many species which will be there. Inside this family of hominidae, you might have humans. You might have apes. You can have chimpanzees. All these things will be there. Viruses will not belong to any family, I told already. How viruses are spreading from one organism to another organism. Viruses are capable of living inside the organism and they are capable of causing the disease. We'll study about viruses in the next chapter, biological classification. Not now. Okay. So in this chapter, you don't have to study this thing. So what I have done here is I have completed this particular category. All the 7 classes I have completed. The taxonomic category is over. So let me just quickly summarize what is taxonomic category before I complete today's class. Okay. So what are the things that you need to understand? You need to understand that there are 7 taxonomic categories. The very basic of it is species. When species are grouped together, it is grouped together as genus, and from genus, many genus together will be joined together as family, and many families together will be collected together as order, and many orders together will be like kind of grouped together as class, and many class together will be joined together as phylum, and many phylum is joined together as kingdom. Okay, based on what property is this done? It is based on various factors. Let me just give you an example. Based on what is this animalia is divided? It is based on one common property that all animals are heterotrophs. They do not have cell wall. In the case if there was like a cell wall and if they were autotroph, they would have been classified under plant kingdom. Okay, inside this thing there are many phylums. There is Porifera, there is Arthropoda, okay, there is Echinodermata, like that you have all these things. Ma, I will show the slides, just give me some time. It's only 2 more minutes, I'll finish off and then I'll show the slides. Inside that, you have the backbone property and then you have this phylum. So inside this, you have what we call it as mammalia. Mammalia are the ones which are giving birth to young ones and which are feeding them. Okay, so those are called as the mammals. The ones which will give birth to young ones, based on that property, you have grouped them together. And then inside which you have the primata. Primates are the ones which will have the menstrual cycle. The primates are the ones which will have menstrual cycle. If you are going to talk about herbivora or carnivora, those kind of orders will be having something called as estrous cycle of reproduction. So inside which you have family of hominidae, human-like people, inside which you have Homo and then sapiens. Like that, you are grouping them all based on some sort of similarity, which is biological in nature. Okay, so that is what is this taxonomy category is all about. So let me just go through from the first slide. If you want to take any screenshots, you please take it. So I introduced that there are 7 obligatory categories. What is the meaning of obligatory? Obligatory means binding, must, conditional, those kind of things. Then I tried to list what are those 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Moving on further, I was trying to tell you how you are grouping them together. I was trying to explain these things. These are all just random writings, nothing concrete. The 4th slide is talking about the characters of a species. So what are the basic? It is the fundamental unit or the basic unit of classification. The 5th slide, I was trying to explain what is this term anatomically means. I was trying to show you how the layers of stomach is organized. That is what is anatomical. Anatomical means internal feature. Then I was trying to harp on this point, which is called as interbreeding. Interbreeding means within the same species and within interrelated species. I wanted you to tell that reproductive isolation is alone. I mean, it can be considered for species, but that can be given away because there is a possibility of 2 different species mating with each other and producing a offspring. Next, I was trying to show you what is genus, many different genus. I was trying to say that there were like many genus which were there, okay, but all having some similar. So many species were there with common properties. So we group them together as genus. Family, we studied about order, we studied about class. Then we studied about phylum or division. Then we tried to organize human beings. We did a small activity kind of thing. And finally, I gave you the example of subspecies. There are 2 people who have asked questions. I'll answer those questions and we'll wrap this class. Which group does amoeba belong to? Amoeba belongs to a group which is called as Protista. It is a kingdom which is called as Protista. Okay, inside which it belongs to what we call it as protozoans. Protozoans are unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Okay, then there is one more person who has asked, are humans with different skin colors or different living conditions differentiated into subspecies? No, as of now, we are not distinguishing that way. Basically, different races are not considered as different subspecies. Subspecies are, if you have to organize something, there are some characters which has to be there. It has to be in terms of not morphological features alone. It has to be based on anatomical features also. So human beings are called as Homo sapiens sapiens because of our ability to think farther. The word sapiens means people who are wise. Okay, with this thing we'll wrap up the class. I'll answer that question in the next class. Please ask me in the next class, Shruti. Okay. Which phylum does Ascaris will belong to? Ascaris will belong to what we call it as Platyhelminthes, flatworms. Thank you, children. We'll meet in the next class. Please leave me the feedback of the class so that I'll know. If you want something to be changed, you please let me know. I will accordingly, I'll change it. You can quickly leave some feedbacks so that I'll know what is the correction points that I could do. Thank you. I'm seeing some positive remarks. Thank you very much.